Fortunately, there was one big game in England to keep us going. That's Arsenal against Liverpool. This was box office, and Jules, those first 45 minutes, I thought Arsenal absolutely ragdolled Liverpool.
Yeah.
And then obviously we'll get to the second half. But just tell me, you were there. What were Arsenal doing different? Is it because, hey, look, Kai Havertz is there up front, Georgie, the double pivot, and so things are actually working. And so when you press and then you win the ball back, you can actually retain it. And was it?
Yeah, a lot of things worked really well in that first half. I thought they pressed really, really well and counter-pressed really well and put Liverpool under so much pressure. I think the double pivot, Jorginho, Declan Rice, worked perfectly.
It's amazing when you're somebody in front of the back four who can actually pass in traffic, get the ball in the half turn.
Yeah, but he didn't even have so much to do that because they were just always in the Liverpool half pretty much. And Liverpool had nothing. It was strange to see them being so inefficient in a lot of things that they did. And Arsenal, on the other hand, apart from scoring, of course, which is the big low point of the day, everything else was just so good. Everything they created, the way they moved the ball even as well. Some of the patterns of play that we saw were great, even on the throw-in on the right-hand side at some point with White and Odegaard. Twice in a row, actually, they did the same trick. So there was a lot of positives until they just could not put the ball in the back of the net, which
I was watching on television at one point. I think it was like minute 40 of the first half. It was 12 shots on goal for Arsenal, just one for Liverpool. After that, we had Trent Alexander, Arnold shot out of nothing, hitting the crossbar. Then the second half rolls around, and he tinkered a little bit with Nunez and Diaz and whatever, but we saw, I think, a very different Liverpool. We were talking off air before.
Yeah.
Well, Liverpool couldn't be any worse than they were in the first half.
Sure.
But whatever he said to them got them around, and they got back into this game. I'm talking about performance now, not chances, because in the end, let's face it, both teams had chances, right? In the end, the difference was made. The own goal by Kivior. It wouldn't have been a scandal, I think, if either team had won this game.
No, yeah. No, for sure. And for me, Jota was the game changer coming on. I think it was far too easy for Arsenal to defend for most of the game before Jota came on. Whether it was Nunez as a 9, then at halftime Klopp moved Gakpo as a 9 and put Elliott in midfield and Diaz on the right and Darwin on the left. And even if they were better in the start of the second half, it was still not very good, I thought, overall. But Jota is such an amazing player, I think. And maybe he was not fit enough to start the game. But when he came on, he made a big difference. And then,
do you think Jota can dunk?
I don't know, but he beat Saliba in the air on a corner.
He's got some hops.
But it's just everything is so good, and it must be so difficult for centre backs to defend against, especially big boys like Saliba and Gabriel, because he's just so smart and so quick thinking. All of that, I just thought it was brilliant, and I do think that Arsenal got frustrated and lost a little bit of even more sharpness as the game went on because you stay at 0-0, and when you are so dominant and you stay at 0-0 and you know that Liverpool are so good that they just need half a chance to score, which they did, then I think that gets into your head and your mind a little bit.
So my theme with Liverpool all season long has been they're getting results, but they're not playing well. They're not clicking. Performance matters.
Which was the case yesterday. Case on Sunday, same.
Well, the last couple of weeks they played much better. Sunday, I kind of feel like giving them a pass because, look, if we take a look at who's missing, right? They're missing half their starting defense, right?
Yeah.
Robertson or whoever you want. And Robertson's backup as well. They're missing their best defender, Virgil van Dijk. They're missing Szoboszlai, arguably their best midfielder. And they're missing their best player, perhaps, or in Mohamed Salah. They're also missing Wataru Endo, who I don't think's been great, but equally runs around and gives you that defensive base, more so than a McAllister who's back. So to adjust like that, I think you have to give them credit. And I think there's a point, and I'm imagining Klopp in the dressing room saying, I'm not going to do his accent, although I'm tempted, but telling them, guys, we've been rubbish, but look, God said we're still in this game. It's 0-0.
Completely.
We can't be this bad.
Exactly.
And the players respond to it. I do think switching Diaz and Nunez around and Gakpo, I think it certainly helped to give a different look, some different matchups. But in the end, and I hate to bring up belief, I think it was belief, no?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know if belief is wrong, but it's just that they know, they don't panic even when they're under pressure. They just know that at some point something is going to come their way. And there have been games where they didn't take them, but more often than not this season, they've just always taken their chances. It's really impressive to watch when you are at the stadium.
I don't like to take cup games as indicators of what may happen in the league, but I kind of feel on this occasion that I will. And we're going to get into the question of whether this game suggests that Liverpool might be favourites or have a higher chance of winning the league than maybe we thought before, given the way they came back into it. All right, Jules, I'm going to turn it over to you. And again, we know not to let cup games necessarily influence how we view. Well, Liverpool had been playing better over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
When you look at this, I'm assuming you still have City as the favorite.
Yeah.
Okay. Liverpool, though, have they closed the gap? Do you see? Because I look at this and I say, there's so much to fix in this Liverpool team, right? The potential's there, right? But the left back to come back, either one at this point. I mean, I think Robertson's still going to be out a while, right? But Tsimikas at least is an actual left back, unlike Jogo, who's out of position. And getting him back, obviously Van Dijk to return, but he will. The midfield, I go back to this. Endo doesn't give you the passing from midfield. He may run around a lot, but that's an issue. McAllister's now back, but then I don't think McAllister covers the same ground. That's not his position. He's a very good player. He's coming off an injury. You need to fix that. Lucky for you, not lucky for you because he's there, but Curtis Jones is having a really good season. Yeah. Great. Up front, I still have the same questions about Gakpo and Darwin and Diaz less so. If all these things click together, they can win the titles. I'm just wondering, how does Klopp go about fixing all these things? And Klopp, I'm sure, realizes this.
Yeah.
And Trent, too, because we saw when he moves into midfield, as he did in the latter stages of this game, he can be devastating in that role. He has a defensive shortcomings, perhaps, although maybe people exaggerate them a little bit.
Yeah.
Does he then make a call to move him?
No.
How do you... I mean, there is a chance that Liverpool could all come together and be a match for Manchester City.
Yeah, they will improve. And let's not forget that they will host City in the second half of the season. So I think that's a huge advantage in the title race, which would be tight between them two. But also I think Aston Villa somewhere, I think Arsenal will be amongst that too. There's still a lot of points that could be dropped. And we've said it before, but Liverpool being where they are now, without being at their best by far, is really interesting for them because... So when you say fixing, there's no time to fix though. So he will be the same. It will be the same players, the same system. Nothing is going to change. McAllister now is back from injury. He will play as a 6.
And he will have to improve on the fly.
Yeah, and I think collectively they will also improve. I'm a little bit more worried about Salah's absence. To be fair, for example, Liverpool will have to go back to the Emirates against Arsenal at the start of February without Salah, unless Egypt are out, which I don't think they will be. Because yesterday, clearly, the plan to replace Salah, and again, I said it before on ESPN Plus on the coverage of the show, if it was just Salah, maybe it would have been slightly easier to try to find a replacement. The fact that Szoboszlai was also out, so of that right-hand side triangle with Trent, Szoboszlai and Salah, you lost 2/3 of that. And so it's not just finding who you replace Salah with, like let's say Harvey Elliott, because he's the only left-footed in that team apart from Salah in those positions. It's also finding the right chemistry between whoever will replace Szoboszlai and Salah and make them play together. And clearly Klopp was not happy because he changed it all at half-time. So Elliott moved from the Salah position to the Szoboszlai position. And then Gakpo was in Szoboszlai position, moved into the number 9, and we had Luis Diaz coming into the Salah position. I'm not sure Diaz is the right guy for that position, but then if you don't think that anyone can replace Szoboszlai, so I think Klopp wanted Elliott to replace Salah, right? The problem is, I think Elliott is better in that Szoboszlai role than Gakpo is, and that really nobody else is. So I think the Szoboszlai issue, even if it's a short-term injury, I think he'll be back in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It's not too bad. However, I still think it's a bit of an issue. So I think Klopp will need to maybe tinker a little bit, but not much will change. It's just that he will hope that they improve collectively and individually for the ones who play out of position, for the ones who are in the best position, but maybe not at their best yet. A bit like Luis Diaz, a bit like Darwin, a bit like Gakpo when he plays, all of that. But still, there must be so much momentum and confidence in that dressing room right now, considering all of that we've just said, that they were surely looking at the second half of the season thinking like, yeah, we can go and win everything, the Europa League, the FA Cup, the League Cup, the league, everything really.
I think this is where a manager really earns his onions. After a game like this, when these Liverpool players aren't stupid, they'll be doing the video review, they know what happened. They'll know that they were played off the park in the first 45 minutes. And depending how you spin the message, and obviously as a manager, you can come in and you say, hey, that wasn't you in the first half.
Yeah.
You guys are the guys in the second half, but you can be even better, right? I presume this is what Klopp is telling him. Anybody can say that, but you have to make it believable. They have to believe that and not dwell on the insecurities of the first half when you have Reece Nelson, who's, tearing you apart down the left-hand side.
But this is a pattern of the season, to be fair. I think we've said it before. All the late goals they've scored, so the equaliser at City, for example, late trend goal, the first goal and the 2 goals yesterday, the goal at Palace. There's a lot of games that they won late. At Wolves, I think they scored late maybe. There's a lot of games where they came back either for a draw, Luton away, that late Jazz goal, where the first half is often average for this kind of team, for this level.
Right.
And then the second half, whether it's the substitution that Klopp made, and we've said before, when you can bring on Jota and Gravenberch off your bench, it's great to have as a coach. It's a luxury to have. And yesterday he made his first changes at 58 minutes, which is quite early. He often does it around the hour mark, but more often than not, it's after the hour mark. So 63rd, 65th, 67th sometimes. Yesterday was a little bit earlier. And it kind of worked. And I just think like that character also to never panic, as we said before, and to come back late in games where you've struggled at times, even against smaller teams than Arsenal, that surely is a huge guarantee.
I'm conditioned to generally judge managers by what they do tactically and how they help improve players individually. I think those are the 2 mainstays. This whole motivation, metaphysical, self-belief, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you can say that about anybody after the fact. But with Klopp, I'm on board with it. I genuinely think he does what you're saying because it happens time and again. Now, he has to pick up the other side of it. He has to get them playing better. He has to get these individuals to improve. Yeah. Darwin, okay, as I see it, Luis Diaz, I think he's got other levels to go to. And I don't think he's been the issue. Because even when Luis Diaz plays badly, he always has that threat. He can go past you any time or whatever. Darwin, I think he's near his ceiling. Gakpo, I don't know if there's more to come. The idea of Gakpo as a Bobby Firmino type, I don't know that he has the personality. I don't know that he has the vision, the intelligence to do that. He looks to me like somebody who kind of, manager tells him do these 5 things and he does those 5 things, but he doesn't give you any value add.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me he's a sub in that team.
McAllister, this is not his position. He's relearning a position and he's been injured. I don't think he's a long-term solution. I think he's a long-term solution to Liverpool's midfield, of course. But McAllister and Szoboszlai with a proper defensive midfielder behind them. Or ideally somebody who can also pass. Yeah. Quansah, you told me after he made his debut, like, oh no, he's good. And I think he's done a job. It's easier to play when you've got Konate monster in the opposition. But Konate. There's so many little things to work on.
Yeah, but there's little things in every team all the time. Always. This is not...
Yeah, there's fewer things in Man City that you really need to fix.
I'm not so sure.
Let's go back to Arsenal. First, I want to ask about the Reece Nelson ahead of Martinelli thing.
I think to be fair, Martinelli had played a lot and without much success on the pitch in terms of goals, assists. Even his XG is really low. His non-penalty XG or X-assist per game is something like 0.16. It's really low. I think he could have done with the rest. He rested him. And Reece Nelson, to be fair, played really well. Should have scored very early on, which could have changed the game maybe. And then I thought brought a lot in terms of the pace that he brought in, and he looked confident considering he hadn't played much.
And considering he fluffed that early chance too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you can see that with the guy who comes off the bench, starts out, does well, makes a massive screw up. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the insecurities come in. I mean, to his credit, that didn't happen.
No, yeah. And then when Martinelli came on, I thought, okay, maybe Nelson could have had 5 more minutes because I think it was the hour mark. And then Martinelli destroyed Trent twice in a row on that left-hand side for Arsenal. And I'm like, okay. Then I think Klopp, maybe not fully, but changes Trent's position to put him in field, put young Bradley at right back for Liverpool. And then Martinelli never sees the ball again. And I think if I was one of those Arsenal players, especially one of those leaders, I would say like, okay, this is an easy matchup here. Martinelli, even low on confidence like he is, against this kid who's played like 3 games before, I think, coming on every time, or maybe started once in the Europa League and that's it. Just give the ball to Martinelli and let isolate him and go one-on-one, provoke, go at Bradley. And that never happened, really. I was a bit surprised with that. But I think Nelson did well, and Arsenal need other options anyway. So even if it was just a tryout from Arteta and it worked out okay, I think it was right to try it because they need at some point to rest a bit Saka, to rest a bit Martinelli, especially when Martinelli is not doing as well as he did last season.
I don't think Saka had a great game. You seemed to kind of wane as the game went on. I also feel though that sometimes he's asked to do a little bit too much, perhaps, or he tries to do a little bit too much. Is that a concern, or was it just more that Liverpool defended well against them?
Yeah, no, I don't know. He had a couple of chances to score. There's that volley in the second half. There's a few things in the first half as well. It's just the way this team is built and the style of this team, it would be a lot of Odegaard to Saka a lot of the time. So the ball goes to Odegaard mostly.
Because he passes in that direction.
No, it's just, but that's his position. He plays on the right-hand side too. So it's easier for him to find Saka than to find whoever is playing as a left winger. It's more difficult. There's more bodies in between. So if Saka doesn't have the success in terms of dribbling or provoking or going 2v1 with White or whoever else, then I think Arsenal, maybe a bit less efficient on that right-hand side. I'm not worried about Saka. His numbers are a little bit down compared to last season, but I still think that he's their best player anyway. So,
all right, you know how I love to be contrarian and I need to be convinced of facts. There's 2 knee-jerk insta-pundit reactions that always come out when Arsenal fail to win. One is it's always Jorginho's fault, even when he's on the bench. I don't think people could say this today. Because
he played really well. Him and Rice.
The Jorginho Rice thing worked very, very well. It's interesting, too. That was very much, I thought, a 4-2-3-1. Other times when we've seen Jorginho play, when Havertz was out and it was more 4-1-4-1. And they had Rice was almost alongside Odegaard. I thought this worked well. I thought this gave Odegaard more space in which to work, which I think Odegaard can benefit for because he becomes a little bit less Saka dependent, to go back to what you said before. Yeah. And you have somebody who's press resistant in Jorginho, who can pass through the press in a way that Declan Rice can't. I'm not criticizing Declan Rice, but he's a very talented player. But, short, intricate passing, give and go, it's not really his game.
Yeah.
And there's no need for him to develop that. It's almost like at this point, if you're Declan Rice, work on your strengths and become even better.
Yeah, although I think he's been more press efficient than you're giving him credit for, okay.
But so that's one thing. And
that's good news.
The other thing, the other knee-jerk reaction, and we see it instantly, is the lack of a center forward. Now, my views on Gabriel Jesus. He wasn't there. I can't blame him.
It's not him, yeah.
So it's not him.
I thought of you.
I do think a little bit. Remember when they extended Eddie Nketiah? And I thought, all right, are you sure you want to do this? Does it really make sense to you? Is he actually going to be your second choice? And then a game like this rolls around, and no, look, he's not. Kai Havertz goes back to playing center forward. Now, Kai Havertz played center forward for Chelsea for 2 years. So we can say, Arsenal don't have a center forward. But, they do. They had a guy who played center forward for Chelsea for at least 2 seasons, won the Champions League playing center forward, played a lot of center forward. You can say he wasn't that good. Yeah. Fine. You can say maybe it's not his natural, but whatever. Arteta's been using him differently. In this game, he went back to him.
Yeah.
I think, other than some poor decisions where maybe he cut the ball back to the wrong guy, obviously some of his finishing is not as that one. There was that one occasion where he took
too many touches.
Took him an hour to get a shot off. If you're going to do that, you have to score.
Yeah.
It's very cool to watch, but you have to score if you do that. I don't know. I don't have an issue with Havertz at center forward and continuing down this road.
Yeah, I agree.
But the knee jerk is no, they got to go out, spend money. Ivan Toney.
Yeah.
Whatever else.
Yeah.
Where do you stand?
It's a hard one because as you know, I think there's a lot of things that Kai Havertz bring, and we saw that yesterday. And maybe on television you could not always see it, but every time Liverpool were having a goal kick or trying to build up from the back and try and move naturally into midfield because that's what he does, Jorginho and Kai Havertz did a really good job at kind of not man-marking him, but not far from it, preventing him from just cutting that
front shield, back shield. It's the oldest thing.
But
you know where it's going to go, right? So,
and I don't think Nketiah can do that. I think Gabriel Jesus brings a lot of the things. This team is built, and again, the style of play that Mikel Arteta has created for this team, that's taken a long time, I think, to implement to this team, is with a number 9 that participates into the game, that link-up play, that is there for the build-up play, that defense, that presses. It's not someone who just stays in the box to be there to finish the chances. I'm not saying that there's no number 9 right now that they could go and get. That's not doing that. I'm just saying that this is not Pippo Inzaghi number 9 that they need right now, because they would have to change the way they play, and I don't think they want to, and I don't think that's the solution, right? So then,
well, you're describing though as Kai Havertz from before. Were you saying somebody who links the play?
Yeah. So Kai and Gabriel Jesus are perfect for that. Eddie Nketiah a little bit less. He's more of a finisher, really. Whether you think he's a good finisher or not, it's not a problem. This is what he is.
So why do I have to see Eddie Nketiah play? Why not play when Jesus isn't there, or for me, actually, even when he is there? Why not? Because Kai Havertz will have played, I don't know, off the top of my head, you might know more than me, what, 3-4 games at centre forward?
For Arsenal, I'm not even sure that much. I mean, he would move there, he would not start there for sure.
Why?
Because he was signed to play as a number 8 on that left-hand side of the midfield.
Okay, yeah, and then you realize, oh look, I signed him on the left-hand side, and what does it mean? It means that Declan Rice has to build play a lot, and it takes away Declan Rice's runs into the box, which he's very good at. He gets in the way of Odegaard. It gets in the way in a good sense, right?
Yeah.
But they both end up looking for that same pockets, those shooting pockets and whatever. At some point, if your 4-1-4-1 doesn't work because for whatever reason, and you're getting this kind of return from Gabriel Jesus when he's fit and he's unfit, why not give him a run at center forward?
Yeah, no, I think that will happen.
We both agree this is a better choice than going out and some knee-jerk bring in a sniper or whatever. Arteta's not going to do that, nor should he do that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think they're looking at the window, at the market like everybody else, like all the big teams, and if something could happen, I think they might go there, and if they believe that there's an opportunity there, they might go there. But I think we could see a bit more of the double pivot with Jorginho and Rice. There are teams where you don't need a double pivot because you will have 75% of the ball. I think he knows that. But yesterday he worked really well. And
also, Jorginho can't play every game.
So. No, yeah, that's true. And I think we will see a bit more of Kai Havertz. I don't know if the injury to Gabriel Jesus is a serious one or not. I don't know when he will be back. But I think, now they don't have a game for 10 days anyway, or 13 days. So we will see for the next game against Crystal Palace what he does. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Havertz again in that position.
Right, so we're both on board with this. This whole knee-jerk, Arsenal must sign a striker is...
Yeah.
No, because that you pick up the paper.
But you always say...
That's what they always say.
No, but you often say, like, as long as a team creates chances, of course it's frustrating. And yesterday it was really frustrating in the West Ham game. And now they're over 100 goals and they're over 100 shot on goal and I've only scored 3 goals or some ridiculous stat like that, which is true. I understand. But at least they create something. At least the performance certainly at Liverpool and West Ham, against Liverpool and West Ham were good. Fulham, okay, that was horrendous. But the rest was good. So I don't think it's time to panic.